What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast. This is your DFS preview for the AFC Championship game. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and helping me break it down, as always, one of the top fantasy rankers in the game, Sean Koerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Doing good. How about you?
Doing well, man. Excited for this game. It
Yeah.
should be quite interesting, especially with Mahomes a little banged up and Cincinnati having won, three in a row against KC?
Yeah. Joe Burrow's 3-0 against the Chiefs.
Yeah. If you've heard Sean and I talking player props this week on the Action Network pod, welcome back for even more good stuff. If you haven't yet, be sure to check that out over on the Action Network podcast channel. You can also hear our DFS preview for the NFC Championship game right here on this channel. But let's jump into the Bengals at the Chiefs. Bengals, small favorites, around 1.5 to 2.5, depending where you look, with the total around 46.5. Who do you like in the captain spot, Sean?
I actually like Patrick Mahomes in the captain slot. I think his rostership will be lower here because he is, like you said, he's playing through the high ankle sprain. He was able to play through a high ankle sprain back in 2019. He suffered a high ankle sprain week one. The following week, he played against the Raiders and he threw for 443 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Granted, he rushed once for -1 yard. It was just a kneel down to ice the game. So he does have that potential. Now that I believe it was his left ankle. Now that it's his right, that's got to be worse because that is his his planting foot. But if there's any quarterback who can get away with like an unorthodox delivery, it would be Mahomes. And Andy Reid has all week to prepare for Mahomes to not be as mobile. So I think, they're going to lean on all the pieces that they got. They had to replace Tyreek Hill. So they brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Kadarius Toney. They have all these weapons. So I think they will make it work despite him being limited. So I think that's why he's sneaking in the captain slot. I think he's going to spread it around, could still have a good game. It's a pretty aggressive play to use in the captain slot, but these showdown slates, you have to be pretty aggressive. So this is a spot I think where it's going to be rare to get Mahomes at a low rostership, but I think this will be one of those times.
Yeah, I'm sure people will be scared off, by the injury, obviously. But you make a good point. He may not run much, but that just could max his throwing. There could be a lot of quick throws and things of that nature, and so you could still pile up the attempts, pile up the yards. And the Cincinnati team obviously has always played them tough, so they could be a negative game script as well, which would only help the pass volume. I'm gonna go Jamar Chase here. He's had a touchdown in 9 of his 14 games this year, 5 of his last 6. And both of these defenses tend to kind of surprise in spots like this. So Chase has kind of been that one guy that, regardless of the game script, regardless of what's going on, he seems to be involved for this Cincinnati team. So really like him in this spot. And could have had a second touchdown, just missed it, kind of bobbled it coming out. But like Chase, and because he's been having a shorter average up the target down the stretch this season, with Burrow having to get the ball out quicker, especially with the line issues, that's just even better for his volume, especially on a full PPR site like DraftKings. You're going to get the a point per catch here, and I think that's big because again, the average up the target for Chase has been going down, but the target volume has stayed consistent. So love Chase in this spot.
Yeah, he's just on absolute fire. It goes without saying that he is obviously the optimal play in the captain slot for this slate.
All right, who else do you like on this one?
So I like Jerick McKinnon. He didn't see a single target last week, despite running out on 49% of Mahomes and Henne's dropbacks, which was kind of bizarre considering, Mahomes had the ankle injury. I pondered on the halftime show with Nick Giffen that, he might opt to check down to McKinnon a bit more as opposed to scrambling. That didn't happen for whatever reason, but I think that could be in the game plan this week. And McKinnon, he did manage to rush 11 times. Granted, it was only for 25 yards, but it was a rare time. He nearly split rush attempts with Isaiah Pacheco. So, I think in the playoffs, they're going to lean on a veteran like McKinnon a little bit more. So this is a spot where I think McKinnon's overall usage should go up. So I like him in the spot. I think his rostership could be down. I think that's 2 games in a row now. He has 0 receiving yards.
Yep.
Back in week 18, he had 2 catches for 0 yards. So either way, I think it's a good buy low spot for McKinnon, and they should use him heavily here because of Mahomes' ankle injury. And then on the Bengals side, have to stick with our boy Samaje Perine. He rotated in heavily again last week. Mixon outsnapped him just 56% compared to 44%, which is, pretty much the standard now. But Perine, he had a higher routes run rate, 46% than Mixon, yet again at 36% for the second straight game. It led to a 5-catch, 31-yard receiving line, mainly due to, Perine is getting every snap in the 2-minute offense, and that's when you could really rack up receptions. So, and that was a game where the Bengals led, right off the rip. So that was a positive game script, and Perine was able to come through. So right now, he's pretty much game script independent. So I love him in either scenario. And KC ranks 28th in DVOA against running backs. They've allowed 20 different backs this year to catch 3 or more passes on the season. So this seems like another good spot to lean on Perine in a showdown slate.
Yeah, Perine's definitely, he's their preferred pass down back, even though Mixon, he's been getting targeted when he's on the field. They just like Perine as a blocker more. So Mixon almost never plays third downs. Now usually jogs off in those instances. All right. For me, I like on the Chiefs, got to go back to Kadarius Toney. He's just getting so much usage when he's in the game. He's only playing about a third of the time, in terms of his snap rate, but his targets per route, 29% with the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's a good bet for a rush attempt or even multiple rush attempts as well. And I think, with Mahomes a little bit more banged up, I think they're going to work in a lot of quick game to Toney. McCole Hardman could be back. We'll see. But at this point, Toney's kind of been the guy, they're trying to get the ball in his hands pretty much more than anyone on the team, but Kelsey in terms of the receiver positions at this point. So I think either way, you're going to see a ton of schemed plays for Toney. I'm not really scared of Hardman coming back and eating into that too much. Valdez Scantling's already also seen a dip in his playing time. So that could, Hardman could also take out of MVS more than Toney, even, who's usually been around, that 30% snap rate with the Kansas City Chiefs. So really like him for KC. And then on the Bengals side, I got to go with Hayden Hurst here. He continues to kind of be the forgotten man, but this Kansas City, I do think these Kansas City cornerbacks are better than in years past with Snead and McDuffie and whatnot. And I think Hurst is a guy who he's going to continue to kind of catch these balls over the middle when they're paying more attention to that star-studded receiving core. And Hurst has 4 more catches in 10 of his 14 games this season, and each of the last 3, he's had at least 4 catches. So he's a guy that's going to have a high catch rate. Burrow tends to hit him when he targets him. So expect it to actually continue this week. I think you could get another 4 to 7 catches out of Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, no, Hurst is a beast. You don't need to sell me on him. What do you think about throwing out a couple Chad Henne lineups? If let's say you're building 150 lineups.
Yep.
You got to have some Chad Henne exposure because there is a chance that Mahomes doesn't make it through the game. So Henne's a guy, if you're making a ton of lineups, I'd also make a couple builds for.
Yeah, that's a great point. Henne, and he looked like, he's going to lean on Travis Kelsey. So, you can stack those guys, but you can fit a lot more of the studs in there with Henne. You can get now Jamar Chase and Kelsey and those guys in the same lineup. So, yeah, I like it a lot. Even if he gets one drive or a couple drives, we saw that last week. He got that drive, they ended up punching it in. So, it's not going to take much. And there's a chance Mahomes has to leave the game, get it retaped, whatever not. So I think that's a great call. All right. What do we got for the luck rankings?
So this isn't a luck ranking game. The Bengals rank 9th, Chiefs 4th. It ultimately comes down to the health of Patrick Mahomes' ankle. I mean, if Mahomes was 100% healthy, the Chiefs would be -3 here. And if he were to be ruled out and Chad Henne were starting, the Bengals would be -4. So ultimately, this if you want to bet on the spread or take a shot on what the potential game script is going to be, it all comes down to the health of Mahomes' ankle when it comes to handicapping this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pacheco is always, kind of a dark horse guy in that captain spot because he would be a guy that if they had positive game script, I think he would see an uptick. The only thing is that Cincinnati run D has been very, very good, as we saw last week. So it's tough, but he could always get a touchdown or 2, down and close. But that's going to do it for the AFC Championship preview for the Fantasy Flex.